Welcome to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast. My name's Chase. Today I'm here with Shreyas, and Jake Topher's not able to make it, but what a huge win against Cincinnati. Now, before we get into it, please give us a follow on YouTube. We always forget to mention that until the very end of the episode, so I want to make sure we bring it up now. We are so close to our goal, so if you could help us out, give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. With that being said, what a huge win for Cincinnati. I don't want to say we called it, but I guess it was just you and me, Shreyas. The two lonely survivors last week who were out here believing in the Buffs. And I think I was even still slightly over optimistic, but absolute beatdown. I don't know about you guys, but I felt like we controlled that game the entire way through. I had some friends who are not CU fans text me about it, saying that they thought it was a closer game than it was. I don't know. This was one of those games where I was never worried. And what a great, once we get 5 wins, all the longtime CU fans will know that getting number 6 was impossible, right? There are several seasons where we were 5-7 or worse, and several seasons where we were winning at halftime, in fact, with 5 wins. I'm thinking of the Oregon State game, of course, and then couldn't get the job done. I was never really stressed about this game. I thought we were dominating everywhere. I think we dominated on the lines. I think we dominated in establishing the run game. And we'll talk about this more, but a pretty fun, just top to bottom win for the Buffs. But before we get into the actual game itself, there is a 8,000-pound elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean Buffalo. And that is Ralphie 6 no-shows the second half. Thank God it was Ralphie and not the CU football team that no-showed the second half in this game. But a lot of people very down on Ralphie, calling for her to be retired and bring in the next one. But I guess, like I continued to believe in Mata and was rewarded, Jake is ready to fall on his sword for Ralphie 6. Jake, what do you got?
This podcast officially backs Ralphie 6. We are here for Ralphie. She's turning it around. We are Ralphie believers on this podcast. No, I wanted to add this to the agenda because I think people are hating too much on Ralphie 6. I know she's no Blackout, and I know she's no Ralphie 4. I forget Ralphie 4's name. She is arguably the worst Ralphie we've had, and I think that's fair to say. But she still gets her run done, and it's still a safe environment for CU. I think the exact opposite of a Buffalo who is too rowdy, no pun intended, because one of our Buffaloes was named Rowdy. A Buffalo that's too rowdy, that gets loose one time, and I know Ralphie 5 has gotten loose before, but you do not want to see that happen at a CU football game. At least with this Buffalo, the Ralphie handlers can control her, and I know she's not as intimidating with her run due to her size and her speed, but I honestly think people are hating on this Ralphie way too much. I don't think she needs to be retired. I don't think she needs to hang up her cleats or whatever she wears out there on the field. I just wanted to say that we need to stop hating on Ralphie because she's out there. And I just hope there's not a time where there is no Ralphie out there. That's my biggest fear, is Ralphie tramples over someone and then there's no more Ralphie. So for that reason, I'm going to defend Ralphie 6.
I hear where you're coming from, but I will say, from my perspective, so I recorded that video that we posted yesterday. Watching a Ralphie start walking is demoralizing. And that is the second straight game where that happened. In the second half, she came out in the second. Yeah, she came out and she started the run pretty well. And then at about the 50-yard line, she made it past the 50 both times last game, but she just started walking. And I was like, oh no. Why is she out here? And then yesterday she came out of the gates walking and she made it to like the 20-yard line and then didn't come back out for the second half. That was rough. I never want to hate on Ralphie. Like, we love Ralphie, but Blackout was my Ralphie, right? She was our Ralphie.
Ralphie, yeah.
But when I say she was my Ralphie, I literally was at her first run.
Yep.
And it was my first game I ever went to. That's how much she was. Like, literally her first run was against Eastern Washington 2008. That was my first game. That was the first of 101. And so the love that I have for her and her energy and her passion that she very clearly displayed, like, she just wanted to keep running forever. And I know we should probably actually start talking about the game here, but man, Ember is just not blackout, and it sucks. It sucks to see. I'm really sad about it, but
Just very quickly, I completely disagree with Jake. I wish Ralphie 3, I think it was, had run over Tom Osborne. If I could go back in time to make it happen, I would. We would not get rid of the Ralphie running program. If there's a live buffalo running on the field, you should get out of the way. And I don't know. It's just, to Strayus's point. I mean, people used to come to the games just to watch Ralphie run. So if we have to live in a world where Ralphie's run is less exciting, but CU football is easier to watch, I'll take that trade off. We don't want to beat this to death, but this Ralphie is just not excited. And it's a shame because Ralphie 5 was so excited to run. Like, she was so excited. And that ended up being kind of her downfall and why they had to retire her, because she was too excited to run. And this is the antithesis of that. I mean, this Ralphie has no interest in being there. And credit where credit's due, it's not a bad retirement. And if that's what ends up having to happen, but it's just, I mean, to Strayus's point, like, people get really excited. It's the tradition. I used to, I was a tour guide at CU, and I would tell people, the team comes charging out behind the buffalo, and that's just, I don't know. She's not getting it done. So I'm glad we talked about it. It's a good offseason topic. We can come back to it, but not to get totally out in the weeds. 34-23. Like I mentioned, Colorado pretty much in control of both halves. Went to halftime up 24-14. Great stop at the beginning. We'll break down offense and defense, but in the grand scheme of things, what did you guys think? It was great to see Travis come back. Heisman campaign definitely back on. We got some flack for this on Twitter. Yeah, I live in Georgia. I don't have access to real sports books, so I have to improvise. But Travis is the favorite now on that book, and so got back in control there. Shedeur with an absolutely lights out game, 25 of 30, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The running game looked good. Defense played pretty well. There was again a lot of times where it felt like we should have had the interception and we didn't, but overall it's hard to really think of anything to complain about in this game. Pass
blocking was awesome. That was so good. It's probably the best pass blocking game that we've seen in 10 years, something like that. This is not something that we see that often. Man, Jordan Seaton is unreal. He's unreal. Like, true freshman. Hopefully we get 2 more years out of him in Boulder before he goes to the NFL. And those are going to be 2 amazing years. He looks like he's going to be everything that he was cracked out to be. And it's exciting to have that kind of talent on the lines, and to be able to just demoralize and dominate a team 2 straight weeks, right? 2 straight conference opponents of just completely demoralizing them. I will say the discomfort, the buff shit discomfort did come back a little bit at the end of the game. And I think we all have to admit that. When it went to a 1-score game and we were driving, and Mata, what a clutch kick. Mata is the guy.
Our guy. God.
That was a clutch kick. And I know he was hard on himself about it on social media. Mata, you are the man. You made the kick. Like, that
doesn't matter. Went through 3 points. Doesn't matter if it was ugly. We don't care.
And frankly, it was straight. It was perfectly straight. Yes, it did struggle to get over the crossbar a little bit, but who cares? We
were so happy about it. We literally didn't let Topher record with us tonight. That's how happy we were with the kick. We took your greatest hater and kicked him off the podcast for the evening. That's how great.
Which, speaking of, he kind of mentioned that on his post-game press conference. Someone asked him about his Instagram post saying all my haters have now become my fans. Someone asked him about it in the post-game, and he's definitely talking about Topher.
He is talking about
me. I would like, it wasn't just Topher that was giving him some flack. So yeah, hard to point that out.
He's been absolutely lights out since Topher posted that video of him kicking and saying that he could kick better.
But really, CU fans, we're to thank. Again, probably more so Chase is to thank for why field goals are being made.
Yeah. But, regardless of that, the comparison that I'll make for this game is, imagine the Baylor game without the special teams issues. The special teams issues during the Baylor game were absolutely atrocious and easily could have cost us that game. If you remove the special teams issues, you look at the yardage discrepancy, it was about 100. Like, we outgained them by about 100 yards. We controlled the line of scrimmage a lot better. Way better. I mean, Baylor, I think they got 7 sacks in that game. It was just the one, right? We just had the one. And it was early, just like in the Arizona game. It was early, and it was credited to Shedeur. So the offensive line came and they did their job. Man, Isaiah Gustav, beast. Isaiah Gustav is an absolute beast. 2 straight weeks of that too. Just feed the man. He is absolutely a workhorse for us now. He's the workhorse running back that we really needed. Not to say Anthony Hankerson wasn't great. He's doing great things now in Corvallis, but Augusta is that guy right now for us, and they're doing a great job blocking for him. And come on, Travis is just insane. He's ridiculous. The key moment for me with Travis, that touchdown right at the end of the second half was crucial. But I think there's a particular element to this that, going back and watching the highlight, I wanted to touch on, which is his body control. So he was wide open, right? We all know he was wide open on that play. But the way that he had to slow down for the ball, because Shedeur put it exactly where he needed to, but Travis was kind of ahead of the play. He managed to slow down, catch the ball low, keep his balance, and get into the end zone. That looks so much easier than it actually is in reality, right? That kind of body control is rare. The vast majority of receivers trying to catch that ball would go down. Probably catch the ball. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, probably catch the ball. But to be able to keep your balance and control and get into the end zone, super, super, super impressive. He is one of one. And with also 4 pass breakups, he is rightfully, possibly back in the lead for the Heisman conversation. I think that's what, Chase, you're saying that's what the current odds are, right? Yeah. The odds are actually back in his favor. Genty had a good but not a Genty-like game against UNLV. It's really just a matter of if Genty has one off game for whatever reason, the value, the two-way value that Travis Hunter brings to the table is so rare, so unique. And frankly, we may never see this type of thing happen again. We've seen dual sport stars, right? I mean, we've seen like Bo Jackson, well, not us, like it was before our time, but we've seen like dual sport stars who are playing multiple sports in college.
Bo Jackson would have been your freshman year, though, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, for him to be playing 130 plus snaps a game like that, it's such a high level, grading out as our top receiver, top offensive and defensive player in the same game. Oh, we're so lucky. And for how much pain we've experienced with 5 wins and trying to get that 6th, it was just so satisfying. And Peggy, man, that's who I'm most happy for. I'm happy for Peggy. I don't know if you guys have seen this shirt, right? But they gave this shirt out last year, actually at the Stanford game, which was kind of ironic and sad. But we are so happy for her. I think every Buffs fan on the planet who saw that video that they posted where Coach Prime called her up and told her, and she's talking about how much she loved everything the team's doing. Oh my God, it was so emotional. I think everyone had to have misty eyes with that, right? Like, she's almost 100 years old, and she's been a fan of CU football for the majority of the time that CU as an institution has existed. Think about that, right? Well, CU was founded in like 1876,
the same year Colorado became a state.
Yeah.
That's your tour guide knowledge right here.
And then she's been a fan for 82 years, I think, something like that. So since like the early 40s, yeah, it's the majority of the time. It's the majority of the time that CU as an institution has existed. So, God, that was amazing. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for the CU fan base. Like, we beat her biggest rival, which is bowl eligibility. So.
Yeah, Chase, my overall thoughts, I'm going to kind of shift to the offense solely, just to kind of highlight that side of the ball. Well, I guess before I touch on offense, I thought it was a good overall complete game by the entire team, by all 3 phases, special teams, defense, and offense. Granted, they couldn't close it out as in a dominating fashion as Coach Prime wanted it, but that entire game they had control. And I know the longtime CU fans, like Saraya said, were nervous in the second half. But I think in general, everyone thought that it was under control. as evidenced by the fans leaving in the third quarter and beginning of the fourth quarter, which I know frustrates all of us here because we stayed until the end of those awful seasons, 2012 through 2021.
Through the snow, through the rain, through the
through the
negative 2-degree temperature.
So if you're a fan, stay to the end. But talking about the offense, very impressive. And Chase, you're gonna love this, but I'll give some credit where credit's due. The play calling was pretty solid. It was a nice, well-balanced offense. Isaiah Augusta had a great game. 22 carries for 91 yards, an average of 4.1 yards per carry. That's what you want to see out of your running back, getting about 100 rushing yards over 20 carries for one guy. It's great to see. And then also there were some creative play designs. You saw the shuffle pass to Draylon Miller. That was kind of a repeat play of the touchdown look they had the game prior. And then even that touchdown pass at the end of the first half to Travis that you were alluding to, Sirius, it was good play call, great decision by the quarterback, good accuracy to make the throw. I know it was a little bit behind him, and then an even better catch and balance, just like you were saying, Sirius, and to get into the end zone by Travis. But I think it was a cover two, and I think they might have had a guy going over the middle, and a cover two, the weakness is that deep middle ball. So the safety had to come up and cover that, which kind of led Travis to be wide open. So great play design, great decision-making by Shedeur. Granted, Travis is probably the first read on that play, which is funny. Like, you cannot leave him that open. So that was awesome. And then also, I think by far and away, this was the best performance from the offensive line. Now, granted, Cincinnati's known for not blitzing. They like to rush three guys on the line typically. So you're not seeing a heavy pass rush against this team. But needless to say, the O-line looked phenomenal. And just to read out some PFF grades, we're big PFF fans here. That's a little foreshadowing for our loyal listeners. But to read out some pass block grades, Tyler Brown came in at the top with an 85 grade. That is a phenomenal grade. And Tyler Brown didn't even start. So kudos to him. He played great. And then Hank Zelinskis, who people were ragging on at the beginning of the season, a grade of 84.7. Justin Maris, 83.6. Philip Houston, 83 flat. Or sorry, that's Kareem Harden, 83 flat. Philip Houston, 82. Jordan Seaton, 78.5. And then your running backs were both graded out at about a 75. But anything above 80 is a really, really good performance. So this team had a really good night on the pass block. And then run block, their grades were pretty average, right around the 60s, with Philip Houston being the standout at a run block grade of 77.9. But one thing I really appreciated from the offensive line that we did not see last year, and I think it's also in part to just our running backs and August Dave, is they were pushing the running backs. And there were plays where they got 5 to 10 additional yards from pushing the running back in a rugby scrum, for a lack of a better word to describe it. And there were even some plays I thought the refs kind of blew it dead a little early, even though we were still getting forward progress. But that was really good to see that the offensive lines just had the awareness. Like, if our running back's still up, we're going to push. And shout out to August Dave. He did a great job staying up on his feet. He's a great runner, a great upright runner. And I think something clicked for this team in this game.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Absolutely. And I do want to, we're being very cheerful considering the general nature of our podcast. So one thing I do want to just touch on, I was a little frustrated towards the end of the game. We have the lead. We're sitting on it. 4th and 1, plus side territory, and we're punting. And there was a lot of debate on that. I think the analytics would say that you go for it. And we punted, and obviously we won the game. Everything worked out. But what I really noticed was in that drive, technically our second to last drive, but really the last real drive of the game for us, we come out and I'm like, oh God, like Cincinnati had just scored the touchdown. They were technically within one score. They're, down by 8 points. And, it's one of those, like, we need to take some time. I think there's like 3 minutes left and we need to score. And I was very proud of, I don't know if proud's the right word, but it was very nice to see Colorado went out there and we ran our normal offense. We didn't try to force the run. We went out there and said, we have been beating the hell out of this team with our offense. And so we were doing the screen passes and we had, the guts to go out and throw for 10 yards. And when we talked to Mark Johnson on the podcast a couple episodes ago, he talked about how Dan Hawkins blew that game against Kansas because he just insisted on doing screwy things and overthinking it. I really like, our offense is clicking. Our offense is very good. And so it was good to see at the end of the game, instead of totally giving up on it, we trusted it. However, there was one time where there's like 20 seconds left on the clock and Shedor's snapping the ball. I get it. Like you're beating them by having the advantage, and it worked out, but just run the clock. I'd also like to see some better timeout usage in the second half. I guess that's more coaching, not just offensive specifically, but the fact that we had no timeouts left going in, kind of the end of the fourth quarter is a little concerning. It takes away your ability to challenge. It takes away your ability to, do a lot of things. You need to do a better job, especially if you're going to end up punting it anyway. Just take the delay a game and get more distance. So that was a little concerning to me. I think we're still a team, this is not a program that has been winning a lot of games. So we need to learn how to shut games and close the door more effectively. And I think that's going to come with time. But that's my only downside. I don't know if you guys want to expand on that, but just thought it was worth mentioning that would have liked to see the clock management be a little bit better and, find a way, go take it. You've been taking it all night. You've been beating them on offense all night. It's 4th and 1. You're on their, I can't remember where it was, 42-yard line, wherever it is, 30, 37. Go take it. Like, go punish them and go end the game and punch them in the mouth. Now, of course, if we hadn't gotten it, people would be calling for Coach Prime, like crazy. So it's easy to sit on the couch and make those decisions, but thought it was worth mentioning and would have liked to see us, hunker down. We end up punting it and they get an 81-yard drive for a touchdown. And, that was a little disappointing. And the other thing, I guess I'll just transition us over to defense, but the defense play.
Before you transition us, just on the topic of kind of coaching, clock management, I think this will transition us to defense pretty well. But one thing that frustrated me was some of the penalties that the Buffs committed. And it's been a theme over the last 2 years, just committing stupid penalties. And I feel like it's just Groundhog Day. I feel like I bring this up on every other podcast. Why are we committing these dumb penalties? First one on offense, Jimmy Horn flashing up the peace sign. Very stupid rule. Very dumb rule. I'll give him credit. But if you're about to score, you can't do that. And he apologized to coach. You could see in the well-off media video, he was really apologetic. So, mistakes happen.
All right, real quick, because some of these penalties were egregious. On that one, he is not wrong. Society is wrong. Change the rule.
Society is wrong,
but it's the worst. That is, give him the 15 yards, whatever. Do not take the touchdown off. That is an insane rule. And I don't know. I feel like the horns down Texas must be a part of this. I don't know what the origin of the rule is. I'm just making this up, but it feels like something Texas would have done. That is such a stupid rule. Get rid of it, change it. Now, Jake, please talk about the legitimately bad penalties that we took. But I just, I know Jimmy Horn Jr. is a very loyal listener to our podcast, tunes in every week, and I want him to know that he is not the problem. Society has failed him on that. Let's talk about the real bad penalties.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'll need some help from you guys, but just to highlight another one, Shiloh, when he's going out of bounds on a tackle, when the play's over, the Cincinnati player is getting back up, and he twists his ankle in front of the ref. The ref can see it. Apparently, dirty. I guess there was something dirty before that, but still, be the bigger man, Shiloh. Like, especially when you're not having a great game. Like, why are you trying to twist this guy's ankle? That's not a good look for you. That's not a good look for the program. That impacts the game. Why are we doing that? Shiloh commits too many stupid penalties, and he's been doing it for his whole career. Like, it's holding him back. It really is.
Didn't we put in Carter Stoutmeyer immediately after that? I thought that was a good cultural move. I like that. Point.
Kudos to Coach Prime for doing that, for benching Shiloh. And then Shiloh did go back in shortly after that. But yeah, great point, Reyes. Kudos to Coach for doing that. I'm trying to think back. And then I guess there were some did Cam eventually get called targeting? I'm trying to remember here.
No, it should have been a targeting. He didn't get called for it. So we got away with one there. Okay. And I just looked it up. 5 penalties for 68 yards. So in the grand scheme of things,
not bad.
We're probably nitpicking. It's not the end of the world, but it's not the fact that the penalty, holding penalties are going to happen, right? False starts, obnoxious, but they're going to happen. But what we cannot have, and that we seem to consistently have, is personal late hits or, and those are the ones, those are 100%, or, again, society is the problem, but the peace sign is you're scoring a touchdown, right? These are all things where, they're unforced errors, right? Holding is part of the game. It's going to happen. You're going to get penalized for it. I can live with those penalties, but it's the discipline ones. And to Jake's point, it feels like on defense, they'll come up with these great stands and then give new life to the offense, right? And the good news is we've been dominating these games, and so we get away with it, right? But you can't keep doing it, especially if you have higher aspirations. And so I think that's just why it's frustrating. And maybe we're just looking for reasons to be negative after a really complete win. But
I'll take a somewhat contrarian take to this. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but the contrarian part of this is I would actually rather see some of these types of penalties than the procedural penalties that we've seen in the past, where it's blatantly looks like they just don't know what they're doing, like they just didn't get the snap off, or they're not set, or they're offsides, or just
The 12
completely.
man on the field penalty, right? In this game, too.
Yeah.
and it doesn't
So-
show up as a penalty, but we did have the snap when Shador's not ready for the second week in a row. So I mean, these are
just
the
don't
things
wanna
where it's
see
like
that. Yeah.
discipline. Yeah.
That I don't want to see. And then this is actually a perfect transition over into defense. But that pass interference on Hodge on the pick. Come on. What? I went back and watched that. What were they? So what did you guys see? Was there anything there at all? I didn't see anything there.
Bad ball. Awful ball. It was a little bit of
It was
I mean,
tic tacky, but then for them to immediately on the next drive, I think it was the immediate next drive, or maybe 2 drives later for the Buffs, to not call the PI call in the end zone was
on Will
bananas.
Shepherd in the corner there, right? In the fade
Yeah,
route.
yeah.
Bananas.
Insane.
You
That-
can't.
I mean, a year ago we would have been complaining about the refs in this game, and that would have been the main talking point. But luckily, this team's good enough that they could still win this ball game. But yeah, I thought it was not called one-sided, or
And
I thought it was called one-sided, and it wasn't a fair.
Had
fair
our
game.
Twitter account out here tweeting like insurrectionists. We're like, we're going to overturn the Big 12. It's crazy. And then, truly, really, this is something that should have left the conference with Texas, but would love to see our fans not be just throwing things on the field. And that's kind of problematic in college football generally, but just it's so inconsistent, and it feels like, I don't know, at the end of the day, they probably missed that targeting call. Even in real time, I was like, oh, that's targeting in our group chat. And then they didn't call it. So all things being equal, it kind of comes out in the wash, but just frustrating that they were very tic-tac. He took away an interception that should have been an interception on that. And then, because it was just a poorly thrown ball by Cincinnati. But, I think that is about as negative as we can be about this game. Otherwise, just talking more specifically about the defense, Sorsby, who's, not a bad quarterback, and did get away with some running that I wish he hadn't been able to, but 16 of 30, not particularly great, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. They did have running back with 94 yards. But overall, like, defense played, I thought, pretty well, came through when they needed to. It's just a matter of, Cincinnati had been scoring a lot of points. I think against Texas Tech, it was like almost 100 points total in the game. And so we knew that going in, and we had the opportunity to go on the Cincinnati podcast, and they were all about the over. They were like, there's no way they're gonna be able to stop Cincinnati, especially on the ground. This defense is very slept on. And that's what I talked about on their podcast was, everyone's talking about, Shador and Travis, but people are really underestimating this defense and how good it is, especially against the run. So, I don't know if you guys have anything further. Just one really quick thought. This defense, especially compared to last year, these guys are hitting hard. These guys are running around and playing hard. And, part of that might be why we're getting some of these bad penalties, but I love it. They are laying the wood on hits. They're playing with passion. I mean, they are and this is multiple games in a row. And I feel like it's getting better every game. And, I think Cam Silman Craig was, or at least Prime mentioned that he was, kind of the ethos of the defense and kind of the reason behind that. But whatever it is, it's working. I'm a huge fan of it. Nice to see those guys lay the wood.
Yeah. I was pretty impressed with Cincinnati's running game. I thought they did a pretty good job. That running back, Kiner, very, very impressive. He had that really nice jump over. Was it over Shiloh? Actually, I think it was. That was a really cool play. I thought he was impressive. They broke off. There's a lot of hard running, right? A lot of yards after contact, and overall looked good. And then the recurring theme of allowing long quarterback runs, that is definitely a trend. Like, we've seen everyone do it now. pretty much
And we had a
every team.
spy. We had a spy, and
We
they're
had a
still getting
spy.
away with it.
Well,
Yeah.
who missed
Fafita
the
did it
tackle
last week. Yeah,
Who missed the
Fafita did it.
tackle on
Oh,
that
was it
game?
Shiloh again? Oh, no.
The quarterback juked out Shiloh. And I think that needs to be a big talking point. Like, I think this team's better with Carter Stoutmeyer in. And I was the guy defending Shiloh 2 weeks ago. But it's just kind of painful. He got burned on that first touchdown from Cincy. I don't know. I think it's concerning.
He had the good game against Arizona, and yeah, it was a rough one yesterday. Did you guys see the grading? How the grading shook out with him? His
I can pull it
grading
up.
against Kansas State was horrible. I think he was in the 20s, which is, that is so far below replacement level. It's not even funny. Like that's walk-on level. It's that you can't play someone like that, you know. But he was great. He was solid against Arizona.
His grade was a 59, Shreyas, which is
dead average, basically. It's pretty much dead average, right? I don't want to spoil the surprise, but we found out today that 60 is dead
But
average.
yeah, I think average is probably 65, right? Like 60 means you're having no impact.
Yeah,
Under
that is
No,
a
I think-
negative impact.
I think our guest that we're not talking about for whatever weird reason told us that was a replacement level grade. So
Yes.
not the end of the world. Not exactly his best game either. And we certainly did not get that from our interview that we didn't do today with PFF.
Tune into the next episode to find out who that is.
All right. Well.
Oh, one other thing on defense, the fourth down stop, that 4th and 1, that was a huge momentum play.
Yep.
I honestly, I didn't think they'd get the stop because they were running the ball pretty well, and just a great stop by the Buffs. And from that point on, they just had the game in hand. So that was a huge play.
And kind of, I mean, this has been my theme, right, of the whole season is Colorado plays so much better when we start fast. And every game that we've been able to start fast in, it feels like we've controlled. And this was another one of those games where we got the quick stop. Unfortunately, got to listen to Mark Johnson on KOA because the terrorists over at ESPN were showing the last minutes or whatever channel. Yeah, ESPN were showing the last garbage time minutes of the Florida State game or whatever it was. But, great stop to be able to get that, a little disappointing on offense. But, that's really the moment. Like if we can start fast and control the game, it feels like Colorado plays a lot better. And that's why I think that Nebraska game is an outlier. I don't think, everyone is really holding us back because the Nebraska game was ugly, but the Nebraska game was only ugly in the first half. And a lot of things had to go wrong, right? The really bad interceptions. I don't want to relitigate that game, but I think that's one of the bigger kind of components of that. So just real quick, I'll introduce our Q Wealth Management players of the game. Go to qwealthmanagement.com to learn more. Great sponsors of our podcast. We really appreciate it. If you want to do some financial work with a financial advisor who cares about the Buffs as much as you do, give them a shot. On the offensive side, there was a little bit of debate about this. And by this, I mean, literally everyone was in agreement except for Jake. We do have to give an honorable mention at Jake's request, and it's very deserved, to the entire offensive line. But there's two problems with that. One, this is an individual award. And how could we possibly choose amongst our illustrious offensive line? And two, Travis Hunter firmly reset himself in the Heisman conversation. Prior to the game, I looked, he was 21-1 odds on the book, basically, out of it, and firmly reestablished himself with the 2 touchdowns. Just no way we couldn't give it to him. We almost gave it to him on the defensive side as well. However, ended up deciding to give it to Preston Hodge, who was wronged by society and these incorrect pass interference calls. And that is something you can clip and put on Twitter because, I really do believe in that. And then special teams, who else? Who else? We didn't even do a special team segment because I was so eager to award special teams player of the week to Alejandro Mata. Like I said, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I don't care how it gets through the uprights. It got through the uprights and we needed it so badly. And in the clutch moment, he went out there. I can't remember how long that field goal was. It was not a chip shot by any means. 47. Yeah.
Yep.
That's an NFL level. I mean, that's a field goal right there. And to get it in the clutch, if we don't get that field goal there, it is entirely possible that we're talking about, oh my God, how do we get to 6 wins? Right. Because they could have gone down the field. It would have been a short field for them. They get the 2-point conversion. We go to overtime and who knows what happens. Right. So I mean, putting the game away, ice in his veins. Q Wealth Management Player of the Game generally, new award that I'm just making up, but the number one Q Wealth Management Player of the Game. I'm giving it Alejandro Mata. We needed that so badly, and he found a way to get it. And so that was really encouraging. I also thought the hold was not particularly great. I don't know if he'll actually listen to this and let me know, but they showed the replay, and I wish Topher was on here for at least that. But like I said, we had to kick him off because he's been the person being subtweeted about as far as Mata's greatest hater. So
not to belabor this point too much, but that kick was huge. And I know I literally just spent a couple minutes talking about it earlier. You just spent a couple minutes talking about it, but man, that is the exact type of thing where even last season, that happened against Arizona last season, where we were winning pretty much the whole game. We missed a field goal in the fourth quarter. Arizona took control of the game and threw it down. Or, I mean, they ran it down our throat the rest of the game, and they ended up winning on their own walk-off field goal. That was huge. And I'm going back and looking here. Mata did have that one. I believe it was blocked against Nebraska. And then he did legitimately miss one against CSU. I think that was probably like a 40-something yarder, low 40s, something like that. But since then, he has not missed. And some of those made kicks were incredibly important against Baylor, right? Incredibly important. Like not just field goals, right? I'm not just talking field goals. I'm also talking extra points. He's perfect on extra points this year as well so far. That is
I cannot believe you said that out loud. I literally cannot believe you said that out loud.
He is 32-32.
Thank God we have a bye week next week, because you just don't say that about kickers.
Hey, we got bowl eligibility now. I think I can let go of hell, man. I can let go of hell.
And I mean, this wasn't a planned segment, but I think just generally we should talk. I mean, anything after this, or, for everyone except for Jake, when we, at the beginning of the season, we said, if we can get to a bowl game, or at least you and I did, Shreyas, that was the dream, because that is not a small thing, right? Cincinnati now, talking to them on their podcast, they're like, we don't know, like looking at the rest of the schedule, we don't know if we get to 6 wins. And anything else from here feels like house money. And I really do think we can win out looking at the schedule. But if nothing else, we know for sure we will be going to a bowl game. And that is so momentous for this team, and such a big deal. And I feel like it got overshadowed. Thank God the students did not storm the field for Cincinnati. It sucks that they left early. Glad they left early so they didn't storm the field like a bunch of idiots after beating Cincinnati, after we manhandled them the entire game. But that should not take away from the fact that this is a huge step in the right direction. And we officially need to be worried about Coach Prime getting some, he's going to get some other offers, and whether he decides to stay or not. Very glad they just built him a really nice custom locker that we tweeted on our socials, but really hopeful that he'll stick around. Time to give him the contract extension. I'm ready to start tweeting about that again. Money's not, we've talked about this to death. Money's not gonna be the reason he stays, but I mean, what an insane turnaround, and the upside is still there, right? We are talking about now could we make the Big 12 championship game? Not just can we make a bowl game? And the culture change, and the fact that viewership is going down of our games because people are so pissed because we just keep winning. And this is a good football team. This is a complete football team. This is such an improved football team. And it is very vindicating to see all the things that we've been saying during the offseason, and all of our hopes. And, we got a lot of flack for it on Twitter, and this is a full CU experience, right? This is not just us that has been experiencing this, but as CU fans, we should really sit back and take a moment. And, we just cashed the season win over total in our 8th game, right? We are in the money. And when people look back, these are the good old days. And I hope that we will take a moment to appreciate, we didn't storm the field, but this was a momentous win for the program. And I know we're kind of going over it because everyone's looking ahead and saying we can go so much further, but we should also take a moment to appreciate where we are.
Yeah, let's put this into some additional context. And this is a shout out to Shreyas because he tweeted this earlier. But for the new CU fans, this is such a big deal because CU hasn't been to a bowl game after winning 6 or more games since 2016. And then the time before that was 2007. Since 2007, we have been to 2 bowl games that needed 6 or more wins. There was the COVID year. I'm not counting that. We went to a bowl game, but we won, 4 games that year?
4.
That stat is insane. Let's do a quick little exercise here. I'm going to read out how many wins CU has had each season since Dan Hawkins in 2006. Just to put this into context of how bad we've been. So 2006, 2. And to keep going on, 6, 5, 3, 5, 3, 1, 4, 2, 4, 10, which was 2016, big season for the Buffs. 5, 5, 5. And people know those seasons very well.
0-12. We were 0-12 0-10 in those 3 seasons combined with a chance to go to bowl eligibility.
Yep, exactly. That stat is wild. Wild. And then last couple of years, Carl Durrell, 4 wins, the COVID year, 4-8, 1-11. Coach Prime's last year, Coach Prime's first year, 4-8. Those numbers are insane. Yeah. They're so small and like strengths. You said it, like 0-10 during that stretch of McIntyre.
Maybe the most amazing part of that is I mean, you clearly looked that up on Wikipedia. Shreyas, I'm almost positive, could have done that just off the dome. I think Shreyas could have just told us.
That's what I started.
I should have.
And if anyone was watching, the people watching on YouTube will have seen that Shreyas. I mean, I guarantee you Shreyas knew that. But I do think it's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. And everyone did the bowling tweets, but like this is different, right? Like the expectations are different. The expectations are more like, and I have to give Jake some credit. I mean, Jake was like, we can compete, and we were very defeatist about this. And this is just going to give him ammo for when he tries to fire Tad Boyle again this year. But the expectations are different. And it's very clear that the ceiling is so much higher. And we've been very, I think we all predicted approximately 8 wins. And if you did Jake's weird averages, it was 11 wins or whatever. But we were very optimistic at the beginning of the season, but I think we would be lying if any of you said that you were not worried that we might not make a bowl game. And so congratulations to all the CU bettors that just cashed their over, including myself, yours truly. And there's so much more to play for. It's so exciting, but I do think we need to take at least a moment to just sit back and appreciate it, because I was thinking about this in the shower and I was like, it's sad that college football season is almost over. And then I was like, but actually we have 4 more games and these all mean so much, right? The difference between going 6-6 and potentially going 10-2 again this year, again, as if 2016 was recent. Like, wow, like that is so cool. And I mean, these are the good old days, right? We're going to think back about this in the same way that we thought back about the 2016 season, but I hope there's so many more, right? We can keep this moving and keep this going. But I do think, I don't want to beat it to death, but it's just what a special moment. Yeah. And thank God the students did not storm.
Let me add some context here, because you guys were talking about a lot of the seasons that I remember very well because I was a student. So 2007, where we lost to Nick Saban in his first year in the Independence Bowl. We went 6-7 that year. They went 7-6. That was my senior year in high school. And that following spring, we brought in a ridiculously good recruiting class, including the #1 running back in the country, Darryl Scott. After that, 1 bowl game. Think about that. I've been to 101 CU football games now. And that I'm talking about a bowl game that we lost to Nick Saban my senior year in high school in 2007. 1 bowl game. I don't count 2020. Throw 2020 out the window. 2016 was it. Think about how insane that is. Even Kansas has been to more bowl games in that span than CU, right? Kansas was actually really good under Mark Mangino in those years. That's how bad they've been. That's something like 71 and 142 between 2006 and 2023. 71, and just think about how bad it's like. Think about how bad that is. It's mind-boggling. 73 is 73 and 142. Unbelievable. And here we are, 8 games in, cashed our ticket already, and probably going to be favored in our last 4 games. We'll see about Texas Tech. I think that's going to depend on whether Texas Tech beats. I think they're playing Iowa State this weekend, so that'll be a significant driver in the line there. But potentially in the driver's seat to get to 10 wins. Oh my God, New Year's Six bowl. Wow, even if we don't make the win the Big 12 and make the playoff, like New Year's Six bowl could absolutely be on the table.
To add to that, I have to be honest with myself. And when everyone's getting excited about making a bowl game, I wanted more. I want more. We have two Heisman contenders in Shador and Travis Hunter, and I want more than just to make a bowl game. And I
Yeah.
think the whole team thinks that too, right? They want to make a good bowl game, and I think they also want to make a Big 12 championship. They're just not saying it. There's eyes on the prize, win one game every single time. But yeah, I just had to say that. I don't know why, but I kind of want more. And
Oh yeah, of course.
you know,
I don't disagree with that at all. We all wanted to go to the Rose Bowl in 2016. We all wanted to go to the playoff in 2016. People forget how close we were to being a playoff type team because we lost to Michigan. And if Michigan, who had a big lead against Ohio State, had finished that game against Ohio State, if we had won, we would have had to beat Washington convincingly in the Pac-12 championship game. But playoff was not off the table at that point. And then, of course, as we know,
playoff too.
Yeah. Yeah. We know how it ended up, where Ohio State came back and beat Michigan. Washington kind of destroyed us, and Cepho got hurt. There was a bunch of different factors there, but we were legitimately in the conversation, much like Indiana is this year. And now that we got the expanded playoff and everything, so they're in a great driver's seat type position to make all their dreams come true. But I agree with you, Jake. Like, as much as I'm appreciative and happy and personally feel like this level of I feel joy about this, right? Just being able to get that monkey off the back and finally going to be able to get to a bowl game. I was actually out of country during the Alamo Bowl in 2016, so I couldn't even make it to that. Finally get to go do that this year. And I'm just, as much as I'm saying all this though, I agree with you, right? It would be so much more meaningful to get more. It'd be so meaningful to win out, to get into the Big 12 championship, maybe play a BYU or Iowa State in the championship, or Kansas State. That's kind of the four contenders right now. Host a playoff game at Folsom. Whoa. I want to dream big too.
Hey, I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. And Jake wanted to go back and talk about Mark Bassett, but I think that's just a total mood killer. So we're going to go ahead and close it out. Mark, you had a great game. Very proud of you. One very just last thing. It feels like this is the first time I've ever felt like going into in 2016, it all felt surreal, but I never felt super confident that we were the team that, we thought we were winning a lot of games, but I think we would, if we're all being honest, thinking back about it, it always felt like we were getting away with some of our wins, right? The Oregon game was kind of gimmicky. We got the interception in the end zone.
10-5.
Stuff.
10-5 win over Stanford.
Right. And so this is the first season where I'm going into games and I feel like, the fan base can have some swagger and some belief, because I went into that Cincinnati game not thinking, wouldn't it be great if we stole one from Cincinnati? I went into that thinking we're going to beat the hell out of Cincinnati. And I really think that that's what's going to happen. And it has happened. So it's just, it's very vindicating and exciting time. And I think maybe this can be the official, like, we're letting go of hell. I know we keep saying it, but it's good to say, like, got to take a moment, smell the roses, appreciate how far we've come, but we're not done yet. And this team's not done yet. And I see a lot of wins on our schedule moving forward, and the ceiling's the limit, and can't wait for, whatever bowl game we get. So with that being said, we're going to end this one. We'll do our preview for Texas Tech next week. We do have a fun special episode coming out very soon. Who knows what it could be? It could be anything. Could even be, I don't know, someone off of PFF coming on. But it could be anything. I mean, who knows what it would be. So as soon as I get that edited, we'll get that posted on YouTube as well. But thank you everyone for tuning in. And until next week, go Buffs.
Go Buffs, baby. Hit it for Peggy.